A man survives Stalin's labor camps. He develops cancer. In exile, he finds something growing on a birch tree in the freezing forest and begins to drink it. He recovers. He writes a novel about it. The Soviet government immediately bans the book. The ultimate irony? The Soviet Union's own Ministry of Health had already approved that exact same remedy as an official pharmaceutical. It is still sold in pharmacies across Russia and Eastern Europe today. More than 1,600 scientific papers have since confirmed the biology. Animal trials show a 60% tumor reduction. Researchers have identified compounds inside it that trigger programmed cell death in cancer cells while leaving healthy tissue completely untouched. A 2024 study found it works synergistically with conventional breast cancer treatments. But your oncologist cannot mention it. The FDA has never funded a single human trial. The science is not in dispute. What is missing is permission. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. The archive opens in Western Siberia, a cold, birch-covered country the indigenous Khanty people have inhabited for thousands of years. They called it chaga, a black mass growing from the wounds of birch trees, hard as stone, burning bright orange inside. They brewed it as a dark tea for tuberculosis, for liver disease, for parasites, and for failing strength. They did not ask whether it worked. They had watched it work for generations. The first written record dates to the 12th century. By the 16th century, Russian herbalists had documented it formally. It appeared in European folk medicine texts treating gastritis, ulcers, and cancer. Siberian shamans prescribed it. Finnish soldiers brewed it to survive when their supply lines were cut in World War II. 1,000 years of unbroken use across some of the harshest climates on Earth. But the moment that mattered came in the 1950s, inside a research hospital in Moscow. Soviet scientists had been studying a country doctor named Sergei Maslenikov. He practiced medicine in a peasant village in central Russia, and he had noticed something strange. His patients had almost zero cancer. He traced the anomaly to a single practice. To save money, they did not buy regular tea. They brewed wild chaga instead, drinking it every single day. Maslenikov began formally treating cancer patients with it. Many recovered. He published his findings. The Soviet government, in the middle of a massive push to develop its own medical infrastructure, took notice. In 1955, the Pharmacological Committee of the USSR Ministry of Health officially classified chaga as a medication. They standardized it into a liquid extract called bifungin. It went straight into pharmacies. It is still prescribed and sold today in Russia and Poland. 70 years of continuous pharmaceutical use, and not one clinical trial funded in the West. Then came the novelist. Alexander Solzhenitsyn survived the Gulag, but developed cancer. While recovering in exile, he researched what had kept the local peasants alive. In 1968, he published Cancer Ward, a novel drawn from his own experience. The book described Dr. Maslenikov's village, the patients who recovered, and the chaga they drank. Solzhenitsyn wrote that he could imagine no greater joy than to walk into the woods, break the chaga from the birch, boil it over a fire, and get well like an animal. The Soviet government banned the book immediately, not because the medicine was wrong, but because the story of the gulags was true. Solzhenitsyn won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1970. Cancer Ward is now read in universities across the world. The chaga it describes has been studied in over 1,600 peer-reviewed papers, and 0 human clinical trials have been conducted in the United States. Here is what those 1,600 papers actually found. Chaga is not technically a mushroom. It is a sclerotium, a dense mass of fungal tissue that forms inside the wounds of birch trees. It grows for 10 to 15 years before it is large enough to harvest. What makes it unlike almost anything else in the natural world is what it absorbs from the birch itself. Birch bark contains betulin, the compound that gives white trees their color. Chaga converts that betulin into betulinic acid, a highly bioavailable compound with a terrifyingly specific mechanism. It targets the power center of a cell, the mitochondrial membrane. In healthy cells, it does nothing. But in cancer cells, it forces a channel open, releasing proteins that trigger apoptosis. The cancer cell is literally forced to destroy itself. The healthy cell is ignored. This selectivity is not theoretical. It has been demonstrated in laboratory settings against lung, liver, colorectal, cervical, and breast cancer. A 2024 study from the American University of Beirut found chaga compounds synergistic with conventional chemotherapy drugs against triple-negative breast cancer, the subtype with the worst prognosis. Then there is Inotial, a compound found almost nowhere else on Earth. Finnish researchers identified it as a source of anti-tumor activity in the 1980s. It works through an entirely separate biological pathway from betulinic acid, meaning the fungus attacks cancer from multiple angles simultaneously. Add the beta-glucans, which activate your immune system's natural killer cells to hunt down abnormal tissue. The same category of compounds Japan's National Cancer Center approved as adjunct cancer therapies after decades of study. Add the melanin. Chaga carries the highest concentration of melanin found in any food source. It protects mitochondria and repairs DNA damage. When Dr. Mukund Jha at Nipissing University measured chaga's antioxidant enzyme levels, he found them 10 times higher than blueberries. 10 times. In 2016, a peer-reviewed study published in Halion documented a 60% tumor reduction in mice after continuous chaga intake. The same study recorded a 25% decline in metastasis. The tumors were not slowed, they were reversed. So why has no one funded a human trial in America? The answer is not scientific. It is economic. Taking a drug through FDA human clinical trials costs between $800 million and $2 billion. That investment only makes sense to a corporation if the resulting drug can be patented and sold as a monopoly. Chaga is a wild fungus. It cannot be synthesized in a lab to create a protectable molecule. You cannot own it. In 2017, the FDA made this dynamic explicit. They issued Warning Letter 513213 to a company called Healing Within Products and Services, ordering them to stop selling chaga extract with any reference to its documented biological properties. Because the company cited betulinic acid's actual mechanism, the FDA classified the extract as an unapproved new drug. The remedy that has been an official pharmaceutical in Russia since 1955 became, on paper, an illegal substance in America. The FDA position is structural, not empirical, and that structure protects a $200 billion oncology market, not the patient. Chaga grows wild across the northern third of North America. In Maine, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Alaska, and throughout Canada, any mature birch forest can carry it. It looks like a black, burnt mass erupting from the white trunk of a birch, hard as charcoal. Cut it open, and it burns bright orange inside. That orange is what you are looking for. Harvest only from living trees. Look for a conch larger than a grapefruit. Anything smaller is too young. Leave it. The fungus can take 15 years to reach that size. When you cut, leave 1 to 2 inches attached to the bark so it regrows. A properly harvested conch will return and can be taken again 3 to 5 times during the tree's life. Use a hatchet or a hand saw. Never force it off by hand, or you damage the bark. Winter is the best time, When cold concentrates the compounds and bare trees make it easier to spot. At home, break it into chunks with a hammer. Dry them at around 150 degrees Fahrenheit overnight. Dried chaga stores for years. Simmer 3 to 4 chunks per quart of water for about an hour. The water turns deep amber. It tastes earthy, slightly sweet, and faintly of vanilla. Each set of chunks can be re-simmered 3 to 4 more times before it is spent. If you cannot forage your own, purchase wild-harvested birch-grown sources only. Chaga grown on other trees does not carry the same compounds. The betulinic acid comes from the birch. One caution: chaga is high in oxalates. Anyone with a history of kidney stones should consult a physician before drinking it regularly. The knowledge was never lost. It is growing in every mature birch forest in the north. What was lost was the permission to know about it. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.